Hello, this is GaryLeland, and you're listening to episode 113 of the Crypto Cousins podcast.
Feed your interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies by joining Hall of Fame podcaster Gary Leland on the Crypto Cousins podcast. And remember, we are all cousins in the world of crypto. This week's price of Bitcoin.
$8,360. That's down $1,079 or 11.5% over the past 7 days. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the Crypto Cousins podcast. I hope you're doing well. This is your host, Gary Leland, and thank you for listening. Episode 113. We've been doing it a while now, I guess. And, you know, I run into people all the time who tell me they've been listening since, like, episode 1 and 2, that they actually learned a lot of their Bitcoin information from the show. So I want to thank all of you who've been listening for a long time. Now, today, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of bringing on a guest, I'm going to play a presentation from my conference I host, the BitBlockBoom Bitcoin Conference. BitBlockBoom 2019 was held in Dallas, Texas this August. And I think it was a great event. I had lots of compliments, and it's a real Bitcoin event. And I say a real Bitcoin event because Bitcoin's all we talk about, not altcoins, not blockchain, pretty much just Bitcoin. Now, the third BitBlockBoom conference is in Dallas, Texas for August of 2020. We'll start with a welcome to BitBlockBoom dinner on Thursday evening. There are several other events on Friday, including the Satoshi Nakamoto Institute dinner, which is every Friday evening. The conference itself will be on Saturday, followed up by a Bitcoin brunch on Sunday morning. So it's starting to turn into a week-long event there. It could be a week long soon at the rate it's going. We have a ton of great speakers. We're starting to put them on the site now. They're not all there, but some are there already. So take a look at our lineup. And if you decide you're interested in coming, use the code COUSINS, COUSINS, at checkout, and you'll receive 30% off the price of your ticket. The first two BitBlockBoom conferences were fantastic, and this year, I truly believe it's going to be even better. So take a look at bitblockboom.com today. I hope I get to see you in Dallas. Now, on today's show, like I said, I'm bringing you a session from last year's event, or it's actually this year's event. It was August 2019, and this is October 1st, I think, or something. So it's this year's event. But on today's show, you'll hear Michael Goldstein, known as Bitstein by his friends and followers. His presentation at this year's event was The Art of Bitcoin Rhetoric, How to Meme Bitcoin to the Moon. It was a great talk. Got a lot of people talking on Twitter, so I hope you enjoy it. This show may be a little longer than normal because it's a session Michael did, and he talks a long time. So I'm not going to talk any longer so we can make this as short as possible. Let's get right to the show.
How many of y'all were at the dinner last night? Most. Okay, great. I had a lot of fun. That was fantastic. I don't know how we'll beat it next year, but we'll figure something out. So, like you said, I'm Michael Goldstein. Welcome to my ridiculous TED Talk. This is The Art of Bitcoin Rhetoric, How to Meme Bitcoin to the Moon. A lot of people talk about price fundamentals, all that. I want to talk about how to troll, how to go hard in the paint with nocoiners. And so let's get to it. So a month ago today, a pivotal moment in U.S. history occurred in the United States Congress. The Honorable Representative Warren Davidson declared on congressional record that there is Bitcoin and there is shitcoin. I share the expression of the woman on the right. Exact same feeling. We've also had guys like Joe Kernan on CNBC, Squawk Box, which is suddenly my favorite TV show. The next halving, you look at stock to flow. I'm just saying, Bitcoin believers, maximalists. But yet, $55,000 after the next halving. This is a little bearish, but okay. Which would be May of 2020. What are you laughing about? This is our meme world. Everyone else is just living in it. So we have this issue in the world where we're inundated with mass media, social media, podcasts. We have all the podcasters here today. Flocks of carrier pigeons, whatever you need to get messages across. We have overflows of information. However, our minds can only handle so much information at a time. So much information at a time, and our ability to process it all is extremely scarce. So in order to get the messages across, we have to be able to create them in a very efficient and effective manner. They need to be extremely well crafted. And as you can tell, we're getting to the floor of Congress now. We're not merely playing around with magic internet money. We're engaging in advanced geopolitical meme craft. We are shaping civilization for centuries, if not millennia to come. So it is important that we get our messages right. So the path to victory. I do have to say, frankly, none of us are needed. No one person in Bitcoin is a completely decentralized network. No one person matters. This is really just all fun and games while the macroeconomics of hard money does what it does, which is dominate. However, in the meantime, we can have a lot of fun, and we can also expedite the process by finding people at the margins and teaching them new information about what we know about the world, and also bully the people who don't agree with us. So a very important concept in communication comes from Aristotle, and it's this distinction of rhetoric versus dialectic. And this is a very important thing to understand when you're engaging with various people online, in the real world, anytime you're talking to anyone, really. Rhetoric is very much the art of persuasion. It's trying to, how do you convince people to take up a new idea or change their minds? While dialectic is the art of argumentation. And when I say argumentation, I mean that in a very sort of strict debate sense. You're working through things in a systematic, logical method. So very much like the memes would be the rhetoric, while dialectic is more of, standing up and saying, I resolve that, blah, blah, blah. So rhetoric is very good for public discussion, that is like when you're broadcasting to the world. It is good for defending or accusing. So like when people are hurling, other memes back at you, the art of rhetoric allows you to, defend against it like a good fencer, just parrying their own attacks, while also, going hard at them as well. Dialectic, on the other hand, this, systematic, logical, method of finding truths, that's more good for private or academic discussion. That's good for people who you actually can agree on certain principles ahead of time, so you don't wallow around in the mud. You both are kind of working together. You might disagree, but you're working together to find out and elucidate some bigger truth. And you have to be kind of on some same team in order to do that. So this brings us to our next point. When to argue and when to troll. Arguing, which, remember, when we say arguing, we're talking about more of a debate style thing. That's with the in-group. That's with other Bitcoin maximalists. It's people who, they could also be precoiners, but people who are interested in actually learning with you, coming to that truth along with you. However, anyone in the out-group, whether it's shitcoiners, multicoiners, nocoiners, journalists, especially journalists, they only get trolling. Basically, anyone with a blue check mark, until proven innocent, will get the heavy hand of absolute trolling. So honestly, there's no reason to ever engage with someone who is not willing to actually understand your position in a good, systematic, logical way. That doesn't mean that you're actually constantly always talking like that, but if they're not willing to take your ideas seriously, then there's absolutely no reason to engage them in a way that would assume them to be that kind of person. They do not deserve it. They have not shown that they deserve that. And this is actually the importance of echo chambers. People usually malign echo chambers, like how dare you, have your little, group. But it's actually a very important thing because it allows you to cultivate a group of people who share these sort of fundamentals so that you can get to the important things. And you also have a group that you actually trust to be able to give you good information and feedback on that. It does not mean that everyone in the echo chamber literally agrees on everything. It means that the people in the echo chamber, are on the same team and are trying to get somewhere together. And that is extremely valuable. That being said, when you're actually arguing with people online and stuff, you might not have the person that you're talking to might not be the person you're directly replying to on Twitter, for instance. And so you might be actually engaging with dare I say, a journalist in a very argumentative fashion. However, really the purpose of that is to be broadcasting to others who might be looking in who want to learn from it. So this isn't completely black and white. This is to understand who is your actual audience and understand how to communicate based on that, rather than just assuming that everyone is there to find a bigger truth, because some of them just want to no coin. What I recommend is relentless propaganda all day, every day. Pump, pump, pump. You were born to shill. Do it. And I have 2 rules. We'll start with one. One, there is no bad news for Bitcoin. There's never, ever been anything bad for Bitcoin. It's all good for Bitcoin.
Anti-fragile and overcomes all obstacles.
Correct. He gets it. Bitcoin Tina understands. So, what does this mean? It means that all public-facing propaganda, anything you're broadcasting, should be relentlessly positive, because there is no bad news for Bitcoin. There is only good news for Bitcoin. Indeed, on top of this, we should always anchor on the most bullish position. You should never be afraid to take the possibilities to its logical extremes, because it is a possibility. And from there, work reality into your model with the nuance as necessary, as needed, and as deserved. A no-coiner does not necessarily deserve to understand, like, oh no, we might actually just be going to, $99 million a coin instead of $100 million a coin. They don't deserve that kind of thing. Always give them the most bullish. Let them know that their opinion is not merely wrong, it is completely wrong. So, always be bullish. So here, I have a lot of examples of my tweets. It's not narcissism, it's just I can't remember 10 million tweets, but I can remember my own. Here's an example. Bitcoin is not merely going to change the economy. No, it's going to create a new industrial revolution. It is going to reshape civilization towards a glorious future. Always be bullish. There is no bad news for Bitcoin. There is only good news for Bitcoin. Another thing with the positive memes and just getting the message out there, trigram memes good. 3-word memes, apparently very powerful. We first learned this from the art of the meme himself, the President of the United States, somehow, Donald Trump, who shows what meme craft is capable of, by the way, for better or worse. Orange coin good, number go up, Bitcoin fixes this. These are powerful memes. Why, I think, is because it's so simple that to an outsider, it seems repetitive, it seems droning, it seems ridiculous. And yet, for us insiders, we know exactly what it means. We know that orange coin good has, we're talking about all the ethical implications of money production. Number go up, we're talking about the fact that Bitcoin is the most liquid good, and liquid goods have a positive feedback loop, and all of this. The outsiders, they don't get this. They only see number go up. Bitcoin fixes this. Similarly, Bitcoin is an extremely efficient tool for the division of labor and all of that, whatever. But for them, it's just like, how do you possibly think that Bitcoin somehow fixes the food supply and modern art and all of this that Saifedean and I go on about? Literally fixes all of it, by the way. So within the in-group, though, I do want to mention this. I think when you're talking to people within Bitcoin maximalist community, you still need propaganda. Propaganda, in this sense, is a way to remind people of why we're here, keep the eyes on the prize, etc. I always think that it's important to be witty and fun and memorable and try to find these mental models that just stick, so you are able to sort of boil things down into something that's 3 words. How do you get these complex ideas into 3 words? And here is an example of that people liked, where Bitcoin governance was boiled down to simply a Mexican standoff in a memorable movie, or the geopolitics and inevitability of Bitcoin done the same. I also think that you should never tire of sharing important actual knowledge to the world. So there is no such thing as too much Austrian economics content. I need to see more Rothbard people. Get out there. So for the in-group, this is a great way to be pumping people up and getting the knowledge out that helps us craft even greater memes as we go forward. But let's go on. Relentless propaganda. Rule number 2, no-coiners must be crushed. No-coiners, and as a reminder, when I say no-coiner, I do not mean someone who merely does not own Bitcoin. Most of those are precoiners. We take care of our precoiners. We love our precoiners. No-coiners. No-coiners are people who do not own Bitcoins and they hate Bitcoin. This is the Krugmans, the Rubinis, the Francis Coppolas, all of them. They must be crushed. They are supporters of a massively destructive economic system. It's both a historical aberration and completely unnecessary. They deserve no mercy, and you will show them no mercy. So I have a few out-group techniques that I want to talk to you about, some ways to be memeing, trolling at them, crushing them. And it's the concept of reframing, the concept of agreeing and amplifying, and the concept of dominating. So reframing. The importance of reframing is that no person in the out-group should be defining your narrative for you. If that happens, you lose. They set the boundaries for it. They tell you what is good and bad, but they're not on your side. They don't know what's good and bad. You know what's good and bad, and you get to set it yourself. So when you have Vitalik come out in 2014 talking all this nonsense about Bitcoin maximalists, blah, 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 that's fine. We're maximalists, whatever. We're going to go for it. And reframing is a way we took maximalist and we turn it from a pejorative into a badge of honor. And same with things like toxic. I've seen some toxic shirts, etc. And even here, we have to note that Vitalik, for instance, when he was saying this, was that Bitcoin maximalists are people who think that everything in the world should be on the Bitcoin blockchain just wholesale. So like Ethereum should not have been its own chain. It should have been on that. However, most of the actual Bitcoin maximalist position is that we don't need any of that at all. We just want digital cash. And so if you were to fall into that frame, you're suddenly arguing that, oh yeah, we need Ethereum stuff on Bitcoin. No, we don't. We set the boundaries of what we actually need, which is we need a sound digital money for the digital age. We set the frame and we take the term. Another way to reframe is anyone who is anti-Bitcoin is actually a Bitcoin accelerationist. So when Donald Trump gets on Twitter, as he does, and he says that the Fed should basically just be destroying the dollar even further, clearly the man is way more Bitcoin maximalist than I could ever dream of being. As I say, we all need to learn to hate the USD as much as Donald Trump does. Anytime someone does this, Mnuchin, same thing. He's trying to, talk about like money laundering stuff. Clearly, he just cares about that stuff, and he's pro-Bitcoin, and he's just wanting to make sure all the Bitcoin maximalists, get to do their thing. Here's an example of why you cannot let people define the narratives for you. It's extremely cringeworthy. When someone else gets to define the narrative for you, and you become the sort of weaker frame in that meme war, it's cringy. He's calling him a shitcointologist, which isn't even a good neologism. So do not let others do it. If that happens, you lose. So let's go on. Agreeing and amplifying. There's a lot of different stuff you can find online about this, but like basically in the context here, when you're memeing up Bitcoin, it's basically you accept correct, but incorrectly labeled bad premises, and then further, you take it way farther than they even thought. And the classic example that I'm sharing here is when people talk about Bitcoin and energy production. They say, oh no, look at how much energy Bitcoin uses. But once again, this is also a bit of reframing. They kind of overlap. They think that energy production is bad. I, on the other hand, I've read Saifedean, I've read the moral case for fossil fuels. I know that energy production is actually synonymous with human flourishing, and we're going to take this thing all the way. So Bitcoin is not, like the fact that it only uses, as much as the country of Denmark or something like that. We need to pump those numbers up, people. We need to get number go up so we get more mining, and we just, we need Dyson spheres around the sun. We're going to soak up the entire energy of solar systems. And we're going to do this. And so what you do, we've agreed that Bitcoin, we don't say that, oh, no, actually look at the, the banking system actually uses a lot of energy, and look at the military, how much they waste. It's like, no, we want energy production, and we're going to take it all the way. So that is agreeing and amplifying. Dominating. Remember, nocoiners are supporting a massively destructive economic system. They're paid shills. This man is paid to tell you that inflation is good, that fiat is good, that 9/11 might actually cause an economic stimulus because look at all the broken windows. Literally, go look up his column right after 9/11. Meanwhile, being nice takes energy. And frankly, they haven't shown why I should expend that energy. So these people are the enemy. People like Krugman especially, these blue check marks that get paid to pump up such a heinous economic system, and they deserve nothing but extreme scorn. And then on the other hand, you have the nocoiners of Wall Street and stuff. These people should be made to feel pain. They have been, many of them have been making fun of Bitcoin for so long, and meanwhile, we're doing great. Number go up. So they must, the more pink Wojaks you can create in the world, the better. Angry pink man good. So another thing I want to get to, because in the course of human events, you find yourself having to insult people just for fun and games sometimes because they deserve it. In this case, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and this was the first thing I saw that morning. But it is important to understand in the course of online discussion, because this comes up all the time. People will accuse you of how dare you throw ad hominems at me? Ad hominems an ad hominem is rejecting an argument merely because of the person who says it, which is to say that logic is somehow different for them because of the preconditions of their existence. However, clearly that's not actually true, because logic is just logic, and there is, dare I say, an objective truth. An insult, on the other hand, is treating someone with rudeness or contempt. It's severing a tie with them in a very blunt fashion. There is a huge difference. In fact, there was a great online article years ago called the ad hominem fallacy. And it's all these examples of how people take insults and mistake them for ad hominem. So in this case, my tweet sums it up. That's not an ad hominem, you idiot, it's an insult. So it's important to know the difference. Like I said, being nice does take energy, and not everyone has shown that they are capable of having discussions about Bitcoin in a logical, systematic method, and thus, they have a higher threshold by which they need to reach before you show them the kindness that they think they deserve, especially when they're pumping scams that are in direct competition with yours, and likely massive malinvestments that are, on net bringing harm to the economy. So it's just good to know the difference on that. So anyway, moving on. No apologies. There's never a reason to have apologies, especially with the nocoiners. We were all nocoiners once. I was skeptical of Bitcoin. I thought that it was a fiat currency because I hadn't yet fully understood what it meant to be fiat. It wasn't merely out of thin air. It's that it's by decree. Satoshi, praise be upon him, he might be the only one who was never a no-coiner, maybe Hafey as well. But they will learn, and this might not be because someone was insulting them online. It could just be because Paul Krugman goes to the newsstand one day and they were no longer accepting his precious dollars that he desperately wanted to get rid of because of his own economic policies, but that he is forced to use Bitcoin. They will have to learn. If someone is unwilling to take on your such intolerant, toxic opinion, then they're also not going to be the people who can take seriously actually correct but perhaps unpopular opinions. And so if they are treating ideas with such contempt, you can't expect them to be able to take it to its full extent in the first place. They simply, once again, have not deserved yet to have actual discussion. They need to prove that they're capable of it. So In a nutshell, reject no-coiner orthodoxy. Do not fall into their frame. Do not show them mercy. Always remind them that number go up. Orange coin good, number go up. So, some requirements for successful memeing. Knowledge. You need to study hard. You need to read the books. You need to read Mises, Rothbard, Hayek. You need to Hoppe. You need to read, the classics of, computer science and, networks. Everything that goes into Bitcoin. You need to fully understand if you want to actually have yourself armed to be able to go out and meme. You can't merely show up and just be an idiot. You will be found out. Likewise, you need to find actual truth. There's plenty of methods of trolling online that require knowing nothing about anything and certainly being far from the truth just because you want to get a rise out of someone. However, that's a very short-term thinking thing, and we'll get to that. I think that it's more, I'm calling for ethical trolling, a conscious memeing, if you will. So it's important to always be right. Finally, you need confidence. You need to be able to stand up for yourself and the ideas you believe. And you have that confidence because you studied hard and you know it's the truth, because you did the work, you proved your work, and it comes out in a nice little meme. So time preference. Of course I have to bring this up. Can't go with a talk without mentioning it. Memecraft does not transpire in a day. So it took years for us to go from calling, Litecoin a shitcoin in, 2013 to it being named, as a technical term on the congressional floor. So because of this is also why it's so important to stick to the truth, because it gives you this long-term focus that drives you towards good, valuable content for perpetuity. I do want to just bring up, just to drive this home, I really do think that being truthful is more important than just merely getting a rise of people online. And Alexander Solzhenitsyn has a fantastic essay called Live Not by Lies that he wrote after the gulags, where he took up the cause of rejecting all falsehood in his life, even at some personal costs. And this meant not reading any lies in the newspaper, not telling any lies, always taking on the truth, even where it had these short-term costs for him. And quite frankly, it's in your advantage to not read the news anyway, because it's full of blue check, no-coiners, spreading lies about Bitcoin in the first place. In summary, you can be the virgin arguer, trying to suck up to Paul Krugman with a nice argument you got there about the actual nature of money. Or you can be the Chad memer and just remind them, number go up. So anyway, I just want to end with some recommended reading. The first, a lot of this was inspired by the wonderful Elaine Au. She had a fantastic article called Rejecting No-Coiner Orthodoxy. She gives a lot of great examples of how you can use that sort of rhetoric and the reframing and agreeing and amplifying to get around the no-coiner dogma and the ways that they try to pin you down. Rhetoric by Aristotle, to learn more about that if you want to be a nerd. The Art of Controversy by Arthur Schopenhauer is a very fun read that tells you all of the underhanded ways to do all of this. He actually does encourage you, if you, specifically if you feel like you're losing an argument, to just start insulting the person as a way out. I prefer doing it after I've won the argument, just as a way to remind them who won. But it is a very fun essay. Isaiah's Job by Albert J. Nock is one of my favorite essays of all time, and it's about bracing the remnant. So this is especially directed at the precoiners. You want to find the precoiners, and you want to be there putting out a beacon of truth so that those precoiners and Bitcoiners can find you, so you can help cultivate all of those ideas for them. Live Not by Lies by Solzhenitsyn, and of course, I can't go without recommending the Bitcoin Standard by, the wonderful Seyfuddin Ammous, and The Ethics of Money Supply by Guido Hulsmann. So anyway, that is my talk on rhetoric. How much time do we have? We got time? If anyone has questions, I'm happy to, take them on.
Well, one question was, you talked earlier about don't take on, shitcoin, don't take on their labels for us, right? At the same time, if I see somebody with toxic
Yes.
or maximalist, I'm like, follow that guy. That guy's the real deal, right? So how do you square that circle? Because you called out the cringeworthy guy, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so what's happening there is basically like who has the dominant meme. And sometimes you might put out a meme that's stale. Like it's an ongoing process where you're just trying out new ideas and stuff. But if you have the weak frame, that's when the shitcointologist is really cringy. But when you're able to reframe it successfully and you're showing like, yeah, we're maximalists, and you're just like pumping it out hard with good knowledge and all of that, it's going to become a dominant meme, and it's no longer cringy. So it's really all about how successful your memes are. You want the dominant framing always.
What are your thoughts on members of the in-group who are potentially in a gray area, promoting Bitcoin, but also open to crypto or whatever? Oh no!
Purge, off to the gulag. No, yeah, I mean, this, once again, I mean, even in-group versus out-group distinction, that's not really black and white. There's a whole spectrum of stuff. That person is going to be in a specific space. Like, it really depends on the person, but you clearly, like, that person I'm going to keep at more arm's length because they're going to agree with a lot of your good stuff, and then all of a sudden you're going to turn around and they're going to be promoting a shitcoin, and you just have to like deal. You don't want to be like too close to that. I don't want to touch that. But there are people who those people can also learn. So you don't want to like I don't think they need to be fully purged or anything like that. And I'm not, to be clear, I'm using that language. I'm joking here, people. But yeah, people like that, they're not going to be in my innermost circles because I want to be able to have a conversation space where we can actually discuss good things. But that's not to say that someone like that is not going to find themselves in like a good place in the division of labor to help the broader meme. But but also relentlessly remind them they're scammers.
I think we use hopicopters, right, instead of gulags. But first of all, who's better at the art of trolling, you or Michael Malice?
He has many years of experience on me, and he goes more toe to toe with people. My skill set has been more directed at just like crafting good sort of memes, like phrases and stuff like that. Michael Malice is the kind of person who he just goes direct. He's constantly quote tweeting people and like pushing them, and it's a very different style. But the man's a master. Anyone should look up my friend Michael Malice. He's a brilliant guy.
I'm a recovered shitcoiner.
Everyone, a round of applause.
For a long time, and I like just got really tired of it. It's just too many people that are rent seeking, and I even like I still trying to figure out what to do the Austin Ethereum meetup. I like completely stopped working with all those companies and shifted the mindset. Once I just saw that they weren't really providing any value and they're all just trying to extract, it's just garbage. Then this is something who's in since like the beginning, and ever since then, like I've been trying to just educate people like what I've seen, and I think it's pretty damn apparent. But I think that they're so like unobligated and they have so much of an ego they don't want to do anything, and so as a result, many people have like distanced themselves, unfollowed me, blocked me, etc. And so like I have like a lot of people that are still kind of on the fringes of like relationships with me. What can I do? Like, because if I start going hard in the paint, I'm pretty sure they're just gonna block me, and then like, nothing gets done. So like what?
So you basically, how do you salvage those remnants or whatever?
Like how do I do something productive for Bitcoin? Like is having more people block me?
I mean, those people may, if they're blocking you because you're putting out what you believe is truthful content, then you probably don't want to have been engaging with them in the first place. So I wouldn't mind engaging with them. You also have to understand, I mean, Bitcoin is such even cryptocurrency is such a tiny portion of all of humanity that getting hung up on them is missing out on a whole ocean of people who are looking for this good content. So I have no reason to get hung up on those people. But at the same time, if they were to come back to me later and be like, hey, actually all of what you were saying in hindsight looked good, which by the way is also a good time preference comment, because we get to like shit on Ethereum while it's on its way up, and like have been building all of that up so that when it finally does crash over time, which now it's just like doing pathetically as far as I understand. I don't want to get the prices, but you know, you've had that whole time to be very consistent about your message and not get fooled by the randomness of the ups and downs. But ultimately, like, you know, there's a whole ocean of people out there. There's 7 billion people. There's like 10 that are in the cryptocurrency space total, and like all of them are here. Like, this is it. But so like we have that many more people. Focus on them, get them in, and I wouldn't worry as much about those people.
Before and following your analogy, what's the role of the foot soldiers? Because I see lots of this requires dedication, a lot of time, a lot of understanding. Sustaining an argument is not an easy thing to do, and there's a lot of people willing to contribute, and I have probably thousands of subscribers in Latin America that are willing to contribute their tiny bit, but how do you see the foot soldier role in this meme world?
I love my foot soldiers. So there's a wonderful thing online. So we saw it, you know, the whole Russian bot thing, which really just meant anyone who disagrees with me is a Russian bot. Anyone who disagrees with me is X pejorative. And the funny thing is basically what people see is that you have all of these people rallying together and just saying, you know, mean things to someone, and they think that it must be coordinated, but it's not. It's a totally decentralized mechanism of just a lot of people came to have a differing opinion than Harvard. It's possible, and people should. We've seen what, you know, Saifuddin was showing what they've done to us. So it's good that people are sort of having differing opinions, and I like when people have differing opinions. But the point is they it's not like a big, like everyone didn't like come together. It's the fact that everyone sort of individually learned, and they knew the number go up statements that they just throw to people. It's like this guy, you know, someone gets online and on Twitter, some blue check mark, some really popular person, and says negative things about Bitcoin. Because we were able to craft the memes of just Bitcoin fixes this, number go up, orange coin good, you get to see just this endless replies of the foot soldiers. They know what to say. It's just like, hey, number go up. And it just gets to embarrass these people. The foot soldiers should be doing everything they can to get the knowledge, the truth, and whatever. And if they're the kind of person who just wants to, you know, spend their day going and seeking out the people saying negative things, piling on the number go up, totally support that, and it's extremely helpful. So, yeah, I think it's time to wrap this up. But thank you again for listening to my ridiculous TED Talk, and I'll see you around.
I hope you've enjoyed this week's show. And before you go, I want to make sure everybody knows that I opened up a node, a Lightning node, and I'm looking for people to open channels to me. If you want to open a channel to me, my node is named Crypto Cousins. One word, of course, is Crypto Cousins. If you have a Lightning node, open a channel to me. And of course, I'll open one back. And like I said, my node is named Crypto Cousins. And I think I'm at 14 channels now, maybe. So like I said, I had 4 last time I announced this. So we're moving up, I guess. I want to keep that going. And also want to make sure you know that I'll start doing sessions like this on occasion. You know, if you want to hear more sessions, if you go to BitBlockBoom podcast, or if you search in your podcast app, wherever you're listening now, if you search BitBlockBoom, you'll probably find the podcast versions of the sessions. Right now, the 2018 sessions are going in there. I think I have 1 or 2 more of those to put in. And then we'll start with the 2019. So if you enjoyed BitBlockBoom and you want to hear those sessions again, or if you didn't make it to BitBlockBoom and you want to see what the sessions are like, just search BitBlockBoom podcast or BitBlockBoom, or go to bitblockboom.com/podcast. Either way, I appreciate everyone who's listening to this show. And that's really about it. So until next week, this is GaryLeland saying adios. I hope you enjoyed today's show. A big thank you to all the cousins out there that are showing their support by donating, subscribing, and leaving great reviews on iTunes. All of those things help more than you realize. Now, you can subscribe almost anywhere podcasts are available by going to cryptocuzens.com/subscribe. Call me with your comments or questions at 747-777-9471, or you can email me at thecryptocousins@gmail.com, and I'll try to use these on future episodes. Please take a peek at the 4-Minute Crypto Show, which is produced every weekday and located at 4minutecrypto.com. It's the place to get your daily dose of crypto news, and it's always 4 minutes or less. And one last thing, please take a look at my new website, Crypto Crybaby. This website is for the true crypto fan and sells Bitcoin and crypto gear like t-shirts, caps, and so much more. Take a look at CryptoCrybaby.com today. Thanks again for listening. Love you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Crypto Cousins podcast. Please share the show with your friends. They can subscribe by going to cryptocousins.com/subscribe. And if you want to know more about Gary, just go to GaryLeland.com. Make sure and join Gary and all the Crypto Cousins every week for a new episode of the Crypto Cousins podcast. The Crypto Cousins podcast and the information included in the podcast are not intended as investment advice. Investing in any cryptocurrency is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Always seek professional advice before investing in any cryptocurrency. Please understand, you are using any and all information from the Crypto Cousins at your own risk.